Ron Bell.
Pleasure to meet you, Mark.
Pleasure to meet you. Starting a business on the Central Coast 9 months ago. Let's talk about that. Segway Central Coast.
Yep.
What is it, first of
well,
all?
Segways are an electric run personal transporter, originally invented in the US back in 2001 and commercialised around 2004. They were supposed to be the next best, next big thing. Unfortunately, with a variety of things in regards to safety aspects and manufacturing stuff, hasn't really taken off as quickly as you'd sort of expect, and it's still very much a novelty aspect. Here within Australia, they're not registrable. You can't ride them on any other areas other than private property. But they're a device that you stand on, basically controlled just through leaning, so putting body weight forward and to the back to start and stop the machine, and using an arm on the top to steer it left and right. And
they look like a lot of fun.
Oh, they are. They are. Once you really get involved in them and relax to the machine, they're quite enjoyable. And it's a little bit like skiing.
I was thinking jet ski.
Yeah, no, it's more sort of like snow skiing. We
yeah.
get a lot of people that sort of say, oh, it's just like snow skiing, and that sort of rhythm and turn that you actually get with the machines is very much like that. But
and you're up at
Mount Penang.
Mount Penang.
Yeah, we're operating out of the parklands there. That's at the moment under a licence agreement with the Parkland Authority, and that was. It's a bit of a trial situation for both organisations. The site itself is an excellent site for Segway rides. We couldn't sort of ask for better in that regards. There's some great surfaces there, there's great terrain, it's nice open spaces that make it very safe and appropriate for the machines to be operating. We would like to think that we can operate later in a broader part of the calendar. At the moment we're just doing weekends till we actually get the momentum up, operating sort of pretty much from 10 through to sort of 2 or 3 depending on bookings. So it's just, as I say, it's a great location. We have been in other locations. We went up to Glenworth Valley Venture Park and operated up there, but again the ride was a lot more contained because of the terrain and the surface and the space that we actually had available.
It almost, here's some free marketing about it. Is it standalone, or should you be in a place like a Glenworth or a
it can stand alone.
Yeah.
It can stand alone. Obviously, a location like Glenworth, who's got this flow through of people, it'd be absolutely beneficial. And we were up there at the Easter holidays, and we actually just came in on the weekend. They had quite a number of campers and so forth, and this was this activity that was stuck on the bottom paddock that people could participate in, just a small experience.
So who's it targeting?
Look, anyone from 9 to 90 can ride the machines that are willing. There's a small technical requirement in regards to body weight that you should be around the 40k limit and up to about 117, 120k. That's a manufacturer's sort of limitation that's put in there. And a lot of that's based on safety. We do take students, kids younger than that for rides. Mainly because they're guided. All the rides are guided. People don't just get the machines and ride off into the sunset.
Because and who are you attracting?
Well, at the moment, a lot of it's family orientated.
Right.
It's becoming a real family activity where people who have got older kids, 16, 15, who really haven't got an opportunity or a lot of activities that they can participate in with them, it fills a real hole in that regard. Yeah. We've been doing birthday parties, usually sort of 13 to 15s, that sort of areas is sort of pretty common. Obviously they're unique, it's a different sort of situation and people are looking for something a little different in that respect. We've had...
How are you selling it?
Well, at the moment it's mostly direct marketing through Central Coast Tourism.
Right.
As a small organisation, we've got a very limited advertising budget, and we're looking for very cost-effective ways where we can to get the word out. We've done typical flyers and some drops and put them into locations. A lot of it's word of mouth, and really people have come up or they've seen it somewhere. We've done a few
Where else can they see it? Where else, are there other segways?
Operators within Australia?
Or just New South Wales? Or
In
Sydney?
New South Wales there's a couple of other operators. Right. Down in Sydney there's an operator at Silverwater near the Homebush Olympic site. Oh. There's other operators in Western Sydney, the smaller organisation, and then there's some as an operator in Newcastle who does tours around the wetland areas that's actually up there. But each of them have a different aspect to their ride. Our ride we'd classify it as an adventure ride. You're not just cruising around having someone comment on a particular location. We teach you how to ride the machines through the absolute beginnings to the point where you're going full pelt through various terrains and so forth, and you're doing that in a safe manner and understanding the way the machine works. Okay. So it can be used in lots of different options. People throughout the world, there's about 500 operators.
So when will it be a commercial viability and just not filling your weekends with fun?
Yeah, look, we have to generate something over about 22 to 23 people a day that we can push through, and that at that point in time it becomes really quite commercially viable. At the moment our average is around 9.5 to 12. It just depends on the month. Obviously the winter periods is a lot quieter, and the weather the way it's been over this last summer through to winter means that some of the weekends are a little bit unattractive for people. But to get up to that
point. So why
point,
are you doing it?
Why am I doing it? Yeah. Well, partly my day job, I'm involved with an organisation called Youth Connections, which is it's a not-for-profit.
Maggie McPhee, we're a fan of.
Yeah, well, Maggie sort of sucked me in when I spoke to her the very first time. But I work with Maggie, and that's a labour of love. It doesn't pay all the bills, and I've got to find some way of generating other income. Plus, in addition to that, I was looking for something that I could do a lot with my family. I've got a 20-year-old son who's doing uni, and he's been working since he was 14 with a news agency, and was getting to that age where they couldn't give him the amount of shifts that he was looking for.
It just gets expensive.
That's right, you know. So we sort of sat down and had a bit of a chat, and I said, look, if I can find something that's appropriate that we can be involved in, would you be interested? He said, yeah, that sounds good. So we came out of that conversation, and I found out through a cousin actually that the Segways are here in Australia, and then it just followed from there. We did a trip down to Sydney to the operator down there, saw what was happening and the expression of the people and the way that the actual operation worked, and thought this has got legs. So we just. And are you
getting enough support from the Central Coast Tourism?
Yeah, look, I find Central Coast Tourism really good. Initially we started out under a local membership, which is the base membership that you can go in, and there's only a certain amount of offering that they actually had. But that said, they supported us with where we could put our flyers in the different locations. And also the opportunity of Air and Affair. We could put some material out there that they did for gratis for us in the first instance.
So what's the biggest issue you've got to face as a small business on the Central Coast?
Look, It's definitely, the cost of advertising is huge at the moment. For an organisation, where you've got to get that return on investment. I've had some experiences. We sort of went into mass media in the radio side of it. Spent, I think, a considerable amount. It was around $1,500 to $1,800 with very little return in that regards. That ability to build up to that advertising area, and I know how competitive it is now. We've focused very heavily on social media, and we've worked very hard on getting our web presence there. So people, that put in Segway, we're going to be close to the top of the page, and
do people know what Segway is yet, or
it's still one of those words that people struggle to fully comprehend? And I think that was, part of the naivety of us when we did the radio stuff.
Where's the name come from?
It's actually it comes from the inventor, and I think it's got French background, and it's a transitional word. So he saw it very much as this transitional transport, short distance transport. So
that is a Segway.
That's it. Yeah.
Okay.
But I think ultimately for us, we're going to move into visual. We need to get into visual advertising where people can actually see the machine, see the activity itself, and we'll get a lot more benefit out of it. But even that has overheads and so forth that's involved.
Well, to get someone worthwhile shooting it, someone like Video Spark, who does that. Bob's over there. You can talk to him later.
That's it.
But in terms of, did you actually go through that business planning stage? Well, you know the numbers. I'm impressed with.
We did. I did the whole bit to start with. We sat down. If we can get to operating, we were operating at a 7-day-a-week sort of situation. It's a very viable business, and it's possible to get up to around 2,000 people a week. The logistics of it, you could push through about 2,000 people. It's where do you find those 2,000 people?
Yeah. Where are they, and how do they get to?
How do they get to us? And are we in an appropriate location, and so forth? So, and it is one of those activities that still has a very strong, unique aspect to it. And I take a lot of sort of thought and focus off another adventure-based activity called the Adventure Treehouse Adventure Park.
Treetop Adventure Park.
Thank you.
We know Sandrine.
Yes,
she's been here.
She's a lovely lady. I met her at one of the tourism network nights, and we had a good chat. But that was an activity that I went to with my family and was really impressed with, and saw the value of having a unique adventure-based activity, and thought, look, there's legs in this. It's viable. So,
so what do you? When you started, it's not that long.
October 2011.
Yeah. What do you wish you knew then that you actually know now? How do you get to the people you need to get to? Yes. And how do you do it with a limited budget? It's I know that there's probably some very unique little publicity stunt or some thing that the gate will open in some way, shape or form. But like we've gone through the process of applying for the Central Coast Tourism Awards, Hunter Central Coast Tourism Awards, as a way of creating a bit of profile under the new attraction area. Hopefully that creates a mechanism. Well, you're putting yourself out there. Yeah, that's it. That's the bottom line. And trying to where you possibly can, making people conscious that you're available. And have you thought about a public relations company, or? Well, I do actually. I have actually should mention supported. Brooks. Pursuit Communications. Have been very helpful in that regard, and that was something. We've engaged under a 6-month contract that help us sort of build up that momentum, and it's been very helpful. All right.
right. Well, we'll need to stay in touch.
Yes, definitely.
And because you'll learn a few more things, I'm sure, before you're done.
Very much in that regard. I look at my having had the experience that I had, which was in a very successful business. You know, when we took it from startup, I didn't expect things to happen overnight, and I know you know I'm sort of set for the long haul, but I did do a lot of analysis and reflection on that business, and when we saw the progression of it, how it was peaking and you know the ebbs and flows, and I did a lot of research and focus on both personal, philosophical and so forth approaches for people, goal setters and you know high-end achievers. So I feel comfortable that the mind's in the right spot. Now it's just getting the word out.
Some extra bodies in the right
spot.
Yeah, we'll see what we can do.
No worries at all, mate.
Okay.
Pleasure.
Thanks, Ron.
You're welcome.